It is a privilege and an honor for me to be here and speak to this audience and be part of this, this great start. And also to talk about something that is important to me and important to you. Antibiotics are life-saving drugs. They cure bacterial diseases such as pneumonia or bloodstream infections for people and for animals. They are also important assets in modern medicine in the treatment of cancer patients or preterm babies. But we are losing them because bacteria have developed resistance. Then the medicines do not work. According to a WHO report released in April this year, a post-antibiotic era where common infections or minor injuries can kill is a very real possibility for this century. Why this crisis? Antibiotics are non-renewable resources, and we have wasted them. But we can do something. We can. Antibiotics kill bacteria. When a person or an animal is treated, not only the disease-causing bacterium is targeted, but also all the bacteria that I have in me and on me. The susceptible ones will decrease in numbers, and resistant bacteria that we have in us will increase in numbers. With higher numbers of bacteria, the likelihood that my bacteria will spread to you will increase. So the problem with resistance is about two things: intensity of use and intensity of spread. Antibiotics are used for people, for animals, and in some areas also for plants, in plant production. I want to state here and now that the problems in human medicine, scientists agree that they have been generated in human medicine, mostly at least. But I'm an animal person, so I will talk about the animal part of the problem and how we can deal with that. Because there are connections. There are bacteria that can transfer from animals to man and from man to animals when we handle the animals, or when bacteria from the animal contaminate the carcass during the slaughter process. And if food hygiene and cooking is not perfect at all stages, these bacteria can end up in our intestines. On top of this, sewage and manure release both antibiotics and resistant bacteria into the environment. And to top it up, trade and travel will globalize the problem. Everything is connected. Now, why do we give antibiotics to animals? Well, there are several reasons. We treat them when they are diseased, or we curb outbreaks when there is an outbreak in a group of animals. This is needed use for animal welfare reasons and for production economy. Antibiotics are also used for routine prevention of diseases, like when you buy calves from a great number of farms, young calves, you put them together, the likelihood that they will be diseased in pneumonia is very, very high. One way to deal with this is to treat them on arrival to the farm. That is how you make the system work. The alternative, of course, would be to change the system, to buy from a very limited number of farms, which would reduce the risk. Antibiotics are also, in many areas of the world, still used for growth promotion, at low doses for extended periods of time in order to increase the growth of animals. That is a production tool. That is not using antibiotics as medicines, as they are. It is about use and spread. But the good news is that you can do something about it. There are inspiring examples. The Norwegian salmon production, for example, in the late 80s, beginning of the 90s, was growing rapidly, and so were bacterial diseases. And the use of antibiotics was huge. But in only a couple of years, 5 years, a bit more, use was reduced by 98%. How? Better knowledge, good vaccination strategies, and a better structure that minimized spread of infections. Swedish broiler production is another example. Last year, a bit more than 3,000 flocks were slaughtered. Only 4 were treated with antibiotics. That shows you how far you can go with good management and knowledge. Antibiotic resistance is about people, animals, and the environment. It's a good example of the One Health concept that Dr. Valla will talk about tomorrow. This means that we have a shared responsibility to do something. For animals, we must remove all unnecessary use, such as for growth promotion. We must also reduce the need, which is a long-term, more sustainable process. Healthy animals do not need antibiotics. Governments and others must act, but we all have a role to play. We need incentives. You can choose to support systems that aim for sustainable antibiotic use, or at least to start asking questions. Thank you for your attention.